Border with Artsakh, severe fighting has been underway, and the enemy with heavy artillery fire tried to assault northern and southern directions, suffering about heavy losses, about 60 manpower and material. The enemy was repelled. The fighting continues. Yesterday, the territory of Republic of Armenia was subjected to activities of Azeri armed forces, and today Azeri forces and Air Force drones hit Vardenis region of Armenia. We spread materials of a burning civilian bus. The aviation also tried to hit our position. We have no casualties, as the Minister of Defense has mentioned. They must wait for a powerful blow. This is the situation. It is changing very fast. The Defense Army of Artsakh will report details of night fighting. I give the floor to Mr. Tatoyan, and then we'll have questions and answers. Thank you. I welcome you, dear compatriots. I want to mention that from the very first moment when Azerbaijan unleashed airstrikes and ground assaults on Artsakh, it was obvious that civilian population and settlements were targeted. Research has proved that they indiscriminately target military and civilian objectives, and they endanger life and health of civilian population. Particularly, it's important that these blows are targeted and aimed at civilian objectives. I want to mention that at the moment, this morning, I discussed it with the Ombudsman of Artsakh and the medical personnel. There are 4 civilian victims. Obviously, as I said, children's, women's, elderly people's life is endangered, because among the dead there are women and children and elderly, and among the wounded there are also such casualties. There are dozens wounded women, elderly and children. The problem is that these activities are accompanied with blowing vital civilian infrastructure. We speak about communications, means of communications, roads for civilian population. These blows obviously are coordinated, and we can prove it. I want to mention in particular one important distinctive feature. All these assaults from the very first moment have been accompanied with intensive, large-scale hate speech. There has been hate speech on the highest level against ethnic Armenians. Hate speech from the very first days. Our monitoring shows that has become coordinated, much stronger. Specially prepared images are spread through social networks to create fear amongst civilian population, and also there are calls for violence and murder. We discussed with our specialists the danger of these social networks, and we came to the conclusion that the most dangerous one is TikTok social network, because there it is impossible to supervise content. That's why they target children. Both Turkish and Azeri sources, which is institutionalized hate speech, goes to show that the children are targeted, and obviously hate speech is obvious here. I want to appeal to children and parents to prevent them from being in TikTok, social network, in all social networks, any dubious group communication shall not be used at all, and it must be ignored. It's important that our observation has shown fake pages with Armenian last names which spread information of actual Armenian users. If we compare these new pages, these are pages which have been created newly, and this is one of the additional interesting features which goes to show coordination. Obviously, all these activities starting September 27 can be considered in systemic link with April and July hostilities, with the same hate speech and calls for violence. If we do it from the point of view of independent monitoring, the problem is that these video images use episodes from April war and have nothing to do with Artsakh and Armenia. This must be condemned. We just learned, and Mr. Hovhannisyan mentioned, the Ministry of Defense spread communication that an Armenian civilian settlement has been attacked, and if we study the coordinated nature of these activities, we see that they are aiming to inflict losses and damage. We are in constant communication with Artsakh ombudsman. The Artsakh ombudsman organized high-level fact-finding missions. We exchange information. We are in contact with civilian population which uses our hotline. We work 24 hours in a special regime. There are special officers who are specialized in providing information and timely performing our activities. We are in contact with the Armenian Ministry of Defense as concerning the activities of the ministry and civilian population and the rights of soldiers in general. And I want also to note that this joint work is very important because it enables us to respond operatively to all challenges. On the international platform, our work from the very first moment, if you pay attention, have been organized based on special principle. They are not casual. We send a mailing list of international organizations, and also we have the status of an independent body, and we use this channel and send information to international organizations and United Nations, and use this opportunity to send communications. The first one was sent yesterday. The second one will be sent today concerning hate speech and calls for violence, and the systemic link with aggression. I spoke with several international organizations yesterday, with human rights protectors partners, and we delivered information to them directly on the situation. You probably will see the Azeri ombudsman and other bodies try to present Armenia as aggressor. I call on everybody be very professional. We must work very fast to present precise information about the situation. This much I am ready to take questions, if any. Armenia denied Azeri information that Armenia shelled Dashkesan region of Azerbaijan from Vardenis. And you said that a drone shelled a civilian bus. Can we say that Azerbaijan is opening the second front? First, on the first day when Azerbaijan assaulted us with artillery and aviation, Vardenis was also targeted. So speaking of a new front, it's not a novelty. They use this front from the very first day. I can't speak about concentration of forces. I think they are not a novelty. If it's a new process about concentration of forces, I cannot comment them because this information is classified. The territory of the Republic of Armenia was targeted from the very first moment, and it's not a novelty anymore. We do not rule out anything. Targeting is a process. We do not rule anything, and our armed forces in Vardenis and also Nakhichevan area are able, combat ready. Since a drone targeted civilian population, are they wounded? The information is being confirmed. According to preliminary information, we have no casualties. In your Facebook page, you said that another assault is prepared by Azerbaijan. In what direction, do you know? As a rule, it's the same northern and southern sections of the border. River Arax Valley, Talish and Madagis. Also in other areas, in Martoni, Askeran. But main directions are northern and southern directions. A few minutes ago, misinformation was sent by official Baku, saying that ostensibly Martoni military unit was entirely destroyed and high-ranking military were killed. It goes to show that they have very little knowledge of military science. Such things are impossible. They never happen about destruction of an entire military unit. I had to deny the same misinformation concerning a general. This is not true. Please follow attentively, understanding that they are losing. They have heavy losses, enormous losses. We also have losses, but they are not comparable. That's why they will be trying to feed their society with materials about destroyed units. I working on this subject from the point of view of the ombudsman. Yesterday, Azeri media, understanding the criminality of their activity, which the international community understands, started to present fake information about this or that high-ranking military, accusing them of murdering people. This is misinformation. Be very careful. Do not spread this information. What's the situation on Nakhichevan? Is it calm? Relatively calm. We are vigilant. It's hard to say what will take place. As I said, if Armenia is targeted, then the direction doesn't matter much. Also, there is information about heavy fighting in Kelbajar. What can you say about that? Yes, they have been fighting. As to how heavy or not, I can't say. If there are worthy details in the communications of the Defense Army, will present it. In all directions, Artsakh armed forces conduct heavy fighting, defensive or offensive. Anything about losses, territorial losses, we mentioned that in a large-scale warfare, retaking one or two outposts is not relevant. We speak about the ability of the forces to perform its main task. We publish numerous footage from the very first day, how armed forces work, particularly artillery, how clearly they can manage fire. Yes, please, Mr. Hovhannisyan. Vahim Misropian, LA newspaper commentator, you said that the Azeris hit Armenian settlements in the Republic of Armenia. Has CSTO responded, or do we apply to CSTO for response? What information do you have? Secondly, since the Azeri state, with its purchases its material, selling oil, can we deprive Azerbaijan of this source of funding and hit the pipelines? Unfortunately, I cannot comment on diplomatic subjects. Our foreign ministry has time and again announced that we work with all international organizations. I cannot speak about responses from international organizations, including CSTO. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs covers this. There are many questions on Vartanis, which I answered. About our losses, we present our human losses. We also lost armored vehicles. They are not comparable with the Azeri losses. we'll summarize some information presented to you. Currently in Vardenis there is no heavy fighting as such, but after the blow there is fighting and will be. Speaking of Vardenis again, I answered. It's the same assault against the unit in Sotk. What's your stance about the Human Rights Court about intermediary decision? We are in contact with the foreign ministry, with the ambassadors in the EU, in the UN Geneva headquarters, and with the Armenian parliament. We actively exchange information. I also want to say that the armed forces of Armenia, as our research shows, and also the Defense Army of Artsakh, are performing protection of the right to live. It is existential because the civil population is entirely targeted. I want to especially in terms of human rights protection, because I have a mandate of monitoring the human rights in conflict zones. As for Armenia's complaint against Azerbaijan to the Human Rights Court, I know about this communication, and also from the office of the Armenian representative of the court. I know the official statement of the Human Rights Court. The Ombudsman has no prerogative to intervene, but we can consider the involvement of the third party in the case Armenia versus Azerbaijan, and we'll speak about that later. Here I have a new question concerning the death of woman in Hadrut. I think information must be summarized. The question was to me, but it concerns civilian death caused by a drone. I don't rule out, because civilians are daily targeted by all types of Azeri weapons. I'd like to know have our reserve fighters been involved? No, their involvement is coordinated, you know it. The reserve is not taken and involved in fighting, but there is no such urgent problem. The army performs its functions properly. There is a certain procedure to engage the reserve.